Normal life has disappeared. Russia's energy offensive plunges Ukraine into dark and bitter cold. KYV. For the millions of Ukrainians living through the winter of 2026, the concept of normal life has become a distant memory. As February begins, a systematic and relentless Russian campaign against the nation's energy grid has transformed major cities into dark, freezing shells, forcing a weary population into a primitive struggle for survival. With temperatures plunging to -15 degrees Celsius and -20 degrees Celsius, the rhythmic humming of city life has been replaced by the roar of diesel generators and the eerie silence of high-rise apartment blocks that have lost power, water, and heat for weeks at a time. A deliberate strategy of exhaustion. Since October 2025, Russian forces have destroyed an estimated 8.5 gigawatts of Ukraine's energy generation capacity. In January alone, the intensity of the strikes reached a fever pitch. Using a combination of Shahed drones, cruise missiles, and even the Oreshnik intermediate-range ballistic missile, Moscow has moved beyond simple grid damage to what analysts call fragmenting the system. The goal is to break Ukraine's integrated energy grid into isolated energy islands, making it impossible for the government to reroute power from stable regions to those under fire. This is not a natural disaster, noted one humanitarian report. It is the outcome of targeted strikes designed to turn warmth, light, and water into instruments of coercion. Surviving the dark winter. In the capital, Kyiv, the humanitarian toll is staggering. Following a massive strike on January 20th, over 5,600 multi-story buildings were left without heat. For residents in these concrete caves, daily life has become an exercise in survival. Melting snow. In cities like Kyiv, families have been forced to melt snow for washing and flush toilets. Makeshift coolers. With refrigerators useless, balconies have become outdoor pantries to store milk and produce. Layering for survival. Families wear 3 or 4 layers of winter clothing inside their own living rooms, where indoor temperatures often drop to 5 degrees Celsius. The feeling of constant cold haunts us, says Angelina, a communications officer in Kyiv. It seems that spring will never come. The invincibility points. To counter the offensive, the Ukrainian government and NGOs have deployed thousands of invincibility points. These heated tents and public buildings provide a lifeline, offering charging stations for phones and medical devices, hot meals from mobile kitchens, satellite internet, Starlink for communication, and a few hours of respite from the sub-zero temperatures. A fragile truce? In a recent development, reports surfaced that the Kremlin had agreed to a brief, one-week pause in energy strikes following a request from US President Donald Trump. However, the truce has been met with deep skepticism in Ukraine. Just yesterday, a technical malfunction, likely caused by the strain of the damaged system, and ice buildup, triggered a cascade shutdown, proving that even without new missiles, the grid is on the verge of total collapse. Looking ahead. Despite the energy terror, a recent survey found that 87% of Ukrainians have not changed their place of residence. The message from the streets of Kyiv and Kharkiv remains one of grim defiance. They have adapted to the darkness, but as the coldest weeks of February approach, the question remains, how much more can a modern society endure before the normal life that disappeared can never be reclaimed?